In our last video, Jill and I revealed our favorite printer, but we had a difference of opinion, and Jill and I are not on the same page. So her favorite was the Snapmaker U1, and mine was the Flashforge Creator 5 Pro. Since there are similarities to each printer, we thought that it would be helpful to compare them side by side. We will cover everything from loading the filament, prep time, difference in slicer settings, and then print comparisons themselves. The Flashforge Creator 5 has been getting quite a workout lately because I've also been on an alien kick. I've printed 9 of the 10 that I want, and oh my gosh, they are absolutely amazing. Even though these two printers are great, they're not perfect, so let's compare the pros and cons that just might change your mind for your next 3D printer. Let's get going.
Snapmaker still hasn't sent the lids that we need to maintain chamber temperature, even though it's been 3 months since we ordered the first one. So obviously we can't perform any high temperature abrasive material comparisons, but we will use PLA, PETG, and TPU. For starters, both printers were very easy to install. Both instruction manuals were clear and easy to follow, with one exception. The Flashforge lid installation could have been improved by labeling the panels with directional arrows. After a bit of trial and error, we got everything installed correctly. The Snapmaker toolhead system can also cause some confusion if you don't pay attention to the red tab placement of each print head. On the other hand, the Creator 5 Pro has a hard time forcing the print head assembly into its designated socket. Since both machines have minor setup frustrations, we can call installation a no contest.
Setting the software up was also similar in that you just follow the prompts for calibration, update your firmware if needed, and kick off your first print. Loading the filament is very different between these two systems though. On the Snapmaker, you get these side-loaded filament feeders that grabs your filament and feeds it to the print head. Although due to the print size, some filament rolls won't fit unless you print an adapter for it. Also, I've already replaced 2 filament feeders, so that is something that can go wrong. The Flashforge filament spools are normally on the side and is manually loaded, so you have to push the filament all the way to the print head. Less to go wrong. If you have a dryer, you can just add more PTFE tubing to allow for dry filament feeding. I don't mind this process because it's faster to swap out colors and different materials. It's most convenient for the Snapmaker, so there's a trade-off to think about. The Snapmaker has an advantage because it speeds up a little bit faster because of the filament motors. Unloading the Flashforge is much faster because you can press the filament cutter and roll up the spool. So faster loading up on one, faster unloading on the other, because unloading the Snapmaker is longer only because you have to wait for the nozzle to heat up and push the filament out.
I'm on number 2.
I'm just now working on 3, but in all actuality, you don't have to really load the filament in this one because when the print starts, it's always going to purge a little bit. But if you're coming from an opposite color, like from a dark to light or light to dark, then it's smart to go ahead and do it this way and not wait for it to purge because it may not get it all when it starts to print, and then you'll be in for a big shocker. So now that you have all of your filament loaded, let's compare the times of setup calibrations to see how quick they can get you up and running. Very interesting results here. Kind of disappointing for me. All in favor for Jill, because the Snapmaker, it started its purge tower at 3 minutes and 45 seconds, and it started printing the very first layer at 5 minutes and 20 seconds, whereas the Flashforge, the purge tower began at 10 minutes and 42 seconds, and then it started laying its first layer down at 12 minutes and 55 seconds. Now this was both a 1 hour and 22-minute print. Yeah, not looking good for startup times.
We didn't want to bore you with benchies, so we picked some special prints, both multi and single color, that we'll throw at each printer to check for speed, waste, and overall quality. We would have done a full plate, but we can't sell these because they came from Maker World. We'll be giving these to our granddaughter. Since both use an Orca-based slicer, we can dial in very similar settings. The Snapmaker does take a bit longer to log into the software. The print bed of the Snapmaker is a bit larger at 270 millimeter cubed versus Flashforge's 256 millimeter cube plate like our P2S and X1 Carbon. Having that extra real estate can make a big difference, but in our experience, it really hasn't been an issue or made us change print tactics, but it could be a factor in the future. Now let's discuss some pros and cons to the overall operation of both these great printers.
Out of the box, the Flashforge can natively handle engineering-grade materials such as ABS, ASA, and carbon nylon, but the Snapmaker requires quite a bit of modification. They don't ship with hardened steel nozzles like the Flashforge. The lid comes with the Flashforge, where you have to buy the lid for the Snapmaker for another $150, and then wait. Their hardened steel nozzle kit is $50 for 4, so there's another extra cost. There's no chamber heater in the Snapmaker, and they don't even offer one. Flashforge also comes equipped with the carbon filtering. The Snapmaker has carbon and HEPA filtering in their $150 lid, but if you go with something else, the Panda Breath chamber heater from BQ has one for an overall cost of $90, but that's without even having a lid. Now, if you buy Panda's lid for $199, spending nearly $300 for this benefit from BQ isn't cost effective. If you don't control temperature in the enclosed Snapmaker, you'll get around the advertised 50 degrees Celsius max temps with the lid attached, so you'll really need to consider a heater.
So far, our initial investment in the Flashforge is all we need to print engineering-grade materials, and overall the printer is cheaper at $849 versus $899 for the U1 right out of the box. I'm just giving you the basics, and we really haven't had a need for engineering-grade printing on the U1s, but it's always nice to be prepared for any request or even future proofing.
Overall, the Flashforge smokes the U1 in harder materials. The nozzle gets 20 degrees hotter at 320. The bed is 20 degrees hotter at 120 degrees. It has a chamber heater and carbon filtering. It's also a bit faster at 600 millimeter travel over the Snapmaker's 500 millimeter travel. But if you don't need to print the more abrasive warpy stuff, the Creator 5 open box system will be perfect, especially at $699. One thing that bothers me is the printer light hates 30 frames per second, causing flickering when filming. So I'd either have to go to 25 frames per second or turn on some sort of anti-flickering. There's a lot of methods to do that, but it's still irritating.
The Snapmaker takes the edge with a larger bed size and 5 to 6 second color change over the Flashforge's 7 to 8 seconds. Now, knowing this, the completion times can be fairly similar. Snapmaker has had a bit more time to dial in their settings and filament profiles, making them a bit better in overall print quality, but it's hard to tell differences most of the time. Purge waste is very minimal for both, being their tool head changers, but Snapmaker made an effort to contain the tiny amount of purge in a small bin where the Creator 5 Pro just lays waste on the deck. Many users have an issue with this, but after using it for numerous prints, it's quick just to sweep it out after every print. Flashforge has had to make changes in this category because it used to be purged at the front, but the waste was getting sucked into the fans, so they moved it to the back.
Even though they remedied the first issue, they created a new one because the wiper was in the front. There are community fixes, but Flashforge should advertise a fix for wiper placement. The temporary fix I use is applying these wipers that I found from Justin Hasselschut on printables, where I also found the poop bucket. So, got a little bit of printing to do to fix it. So far, it's doing a good job though, except for the wipers. I hope somebody comes out with a better remedy for the wiper though. Last night, I was printing another one of my aliens, and I'm almost done with the whole set. I've got one more to go, but the tower got knocked over, and I heard it. I was sitting there watching TV and I heard it just fall over. I don't know if that nozzle actually touched it or not. It was in between changes, so I'm assuming so. But I either had a bed adhesion issue or the nozzle knocked it over. But in any case, it does need to be addressed so you don't have to run into this issue. I tried to save it. I had like 2 hours left for it, and I was going to stay there for the whole time, but I was like, you know what, this is getting silly. Yeah, so it was kind of heartbreaking, but I did start a new one, and it's already done, and it looks great. So the Flashforge does this print well, but yeah, I did have my first struggle. One more thing we want to test is how well the printer resumes from power loss. So I'm going to shut off the printers mid-print and see what the prints look like when we're done.
Did you wire this to the house, Sean?
Yeah.
Where are you?
Over here.
Turn the damn lights on.
Oh, shit. The power loss recovery couldn't have gone any worse. This model had no chance at all at surviving. I did try again after layer 5 and it recovered, but it still wasn't perfect, so there's a lot of room for improvement there.
Yeah, the Snapmaker performed the recovery perfectly, and it resumed very quickly.
True. The Flashforge homed itself and repurged, taking twice as long to resume printing. Now, as far as TPU goes, this is the Flashforge, and it was a little difficult to get to work just right, and it doesn't look as good as the Snapmaker, so they got some work to do on it as well, but it is functional. But it did struggle with some Overture TPU that I was kind of surprised at the results, and had a little error where the filament from the Overture actually went outside of the print head, so that's kind of an issue. But once I got that all fixed and tried again, it seemed to work just fine. But I don't trust the Overture, but the Creality TPU 95A was pretty good. The Disclosure Day mind control prints that we made are so close, but you can see some slight ringing from the first one I printed from the Flashforge, and so I printed another one and took the lid off. I wanted to see if the temperature had something to do with it, and also after another vibration compensation calibration, I had to practice that. Yeah. See if there were any improvements there. Well, there were none. It looks exactly the same. There's the ringing. It's ever so slight, but it's not as good as the Snapmaker. I'll go ahead and admit that. I got my butt kicked today.
Cheers. So the Snapmaker didn't start out as good either, though. If you remember, Snorka kept crashing, and it's still slow when logging in and connecting to your printers. Another issue upon release was long startup times, so don't be too discouraged. Watching you with the Flashforge reminds me of when we first got our first Snapmaker. We were up weird hours, like being up with a newborn at our age.
The loading times were a bit one-sided and gave Jill a lot of room to brag for now. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, until I had to heat every nozzle up to unload while you just hit a button and cut your filament and be done.
You're welcome. But one thing about testing is you gain a much deeper understanding, and it seems like Flashforge has some work to do with their wipers. Also, their setup time requirements. Oh, and their power loss recovery. But I'm hopeful that future firmware updates will not only speed things up, but make the experience that much better. I'm still happy with the money that we spent on this thing. I am.
The video quality and camera placement is so much better on the Snapmaker. Now don't get us wrong, we're trying to find things wrong so you're better informed, but overall we still achieve some beautiful prints from both printers. The Snapmaker provides solid and consistent results. Looking at this alligator and fish, you can see that the Flashforge provides excellent results. It's just amazing, to say the least.
Yep, and a lot of the stuff that we use at Market Fair, because we got these, pretty much everything on this channel today, or in this video, is from Maker World, except for some of these other ones. This is Tactical Chaos, that's Tactical Chaos, this is STL Flicks, and then Maker World. So we got a huge conglomeration of prints here, and I'll link the ones down below that aren't on Maker World. So if you ask any other model, they're on Maker World. Both printers are terrific, and they both stay very active for our business. Whichever one you buy, they both provide options for future proofing. I love the Flashforge, and Jill loves her Snapmakers. The Snapmakers have hardly had any errors, and we can confidently hit print and walk away, where we still closely monitor the Creator 5 because it's newer and not quite as dialed in. They've got some work to do. I just love that the Creator 5 comes ready to go for anything, and it just looks tough and polished. That's important to me for some reason.
We have everything mentioned down below, so if you want to do more research, have at it. As you can tell, there is a lot to think about, and we hope we were able to help you weigh the pros and cons to find the one special 3D printer that will suit your workflow. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.